Imagine waking up tomorrow, getting ready for work, working hard from sunrise to sunset, and at the end of the day, instead of your salary, someone hands you 2 loaves of bread, a sack of grain, and a jug of beer. No cash, no bank account, no paycheck, just food and drink. It sounds unbelievable, but thousands of years ago, for many workers, that was payday. So when did humans start working for money? The answer is older and far more calculated than you've been told. For most of human history, humans didn't have jobs. No companies, no bosses, no employees. People didn't wake up and go to work, they woke up and survived. If they wanted food, they hunted. If they needed shelter, they built it. Work wasn't something you were paid to do. It was simply what life required. For hundreds of thousands of years, that was enough. Then someone figured out how to turn survival into a system, and once that happened, someone else figured out how to sit at the top of it. Our story begins in the Fertile Crescent, a stretch of land in the Middle East covering parts of present-day Iraq, Syria, and southeastern Turkey. 2 rivers ran through it, the Tigris and the Euphrates, and every year they flooded, leaving behind soil rich enough to farm. Around 12,000 years ago, communities here began one of humanity's greatest experiments. Instead of constantly searching for food, they started producing it. Families planted seeds, waited, harvested, planted again. It probably didn't feel revolutionary at the time, but over generations, villages stopped moving. Children grew up in the same home their parents had built. Neighbors became communities. Communities became something new, societies with a memory, and eventually, societies with a ledger. For the first time, people began producing more food than they immediately needed. Historians call this a surplus. It sounds like an ordinary word, but civilization was built on it, because surplus creates something priceless: time. Time to learn a skill, time to invent, time to specialize. One farmer becoming exceptional at wheat, one family raising sheep, a craftswoman shaping clay, a blacksmith turning metal into tools. Everyone became more productive, and for a while, everyone benefited equally. The farmer traded grain for pottery, the shepherd traded wool for tools. Nobody needed money, they simply exchanged what they had for what they needed. This was barter, and for a long time, it worked. Until civilization grew larger than trust could travel on its own. Imagine you're the village potter. You've spent 2 weeks shaping clay, firing every piece. Market day arrives. You're certain you'll trade your finest pots for enough grain to feed your family, but the first farmer you approach already has enough pots. So does the next one, and the one after that. Your pottery still has value. The people who have what you need simply don't need what you have at the exact moment you need it from them. As villages became towns and towns became cities, this kept happening more often, more painfully. Barter hadn't failed. It had hit a wall that only got taller as society got more complex. People needed a better solution, not because they wanted to get rich, but because the system itself was starting to seize up. That solution would emerge in one of the world's first great cities, a place whose quiet decisions still shape how you get paid today. Its name was Uruk. Uruk was unlike anything humanity had seen. Located in what is now southern Iraq, it was one of the world's first true cities. By around 3000 BCE, tens of thousands of people lived within and around its walls: farmers, builders, potters, metalworkers, weavers, priests, merchants. But as the city grew, a new problem emerged. How do you keep track of thousands of people, their work, their goods, and what they're owed? Someone has to hold that information, and whoever holds it holds power over everyone who doesn't. The answer was writing, and it's not the origin story most people expect. Many historians believe writing in Mesopotamia wasn't invented for stories, poems, or laws. It was invented for accounting. Thousands of clay tablets have survived, covered in small wedge-shaped marks. Most of them aren't literature. They're records of grain, livestock, trade, workers, and payments. Think about what that means. The scribes who could read and write those tablets weren't just clerks. They worked for temples and palace administrations, and they controlled the only record of who had worked, what they were owed, and whether they'd been paid. If you couldn't read the tablet that recorded your labor, you had no way to check it. You had to trust the person who could. That's not a footnote. That's the first time in human history that literacy itself became a form of leverage over other people's work. Now here's the part that surprises almost everyone. There were no coins yet. The first widely recognized coins wouldn't appear for nearly 2,000 more years in the ancient kingdom of Lydia. So how were people paid? Often with rations, grain, bread, oil, wool, and yes, beer. Ancient records show Mesopotamian workers receiving beer as part of their compensation for building temples, repairing walls, hauling stone. That wasn't a bonus, that was the wage. And notice what had just happened. Almost invisibly, people were now separating the work they did from the thing they received for it. You didn't grow your own food anymore. You contributed a skill, and someone else, holding the record, decided what that skill was worth in bread and beer. The moment that separation existed, so did the possibility of being shorted, underpaid, or controlled by whoever kept the books. As trade expanded across longer distances, civilizations experimented with better ways to represent value. Silver became a common measure of wealth in Mesopotamia, usually by weight, not as coins. Elsewhere, people used cowrie shells, copper, salt. Then, around the 7th century BCE, Lydia introduced standardized metal coins. For the first time, people could carry value in their hands. Confident strangers would accept it without needing a scribe, a temple, or a king to vouch for them. That's worth sitting with. Coinage didn't just make trade faster, it took some of the power away from whoever controlled the ledger and put a version of it directly into people's pockets. Money didn't replace everything overnight. It evolved over thousands of years, but every step solved the same problem. How do you exchange value in a world too complex for barter and too large for everyone to simply trust each other by default? The real breakthrough was never gold, silver, or coins. It was trust, engineered, recorded, and for a long time, controlled by whoever held the tablet. Think about the money in your wallet or the balance in your account. By itself, it's paper, metal, or numbers on a screen. Its value comes from something invisible, the shared belief that someone else will accept it tomorrow the way they did today. That belief is what lets strangers cooperate, businesses exist, and billions of people exchange the value of their work every single day. But belief has to be built by someone, and for most of history, that someone sat closer to power than to the people doing the actual work. Tomorrow, someone will build a bridge, perform surgery, teach a classroom, harvest food, write software, start a business. When they're paid by cash, bank transfer, or a notification on their phone, they're taking part in a system that began 5,000 years ago in a room with clay tablets and a scribe deciding what someone else's labor was worth. They couldn't have imagined your paycheck, but they built the first version of the machine that decides it. The next time your salary lands, look a little closer. Behind that single notification isn't just thousands of years of ingenuity, it's thousands of years of someone, somewhere, controlling the record, and the rest of us learning, slowly, how to take a little of that power back.